Have you ever wondered why some people can stay committed to their goals while others give up halfway? The secret doesn't lie in talent, but in self-discipline. Today, we'll uncover the secret to staying disciplined, the key that helps you turn dreams into reality and push beyond your own limits. The foundation of discipline is clarity. Before you can even think about mastering your habits or resisting distractions, you have to know exactly what you are working toward and why it matters. People often underestimate the power of a well-defined goal. But in reality, it is the anchor that keeps you steady when everything around you pushes you off course. Imagine sailing a boat without a clear destination. The waves and winds would toss you wherever they please, and you would never arrive anywhere meaningful. The same applies to life. Without clear goals and a strong reason to pursue them, your actions lack direction, and discipline becomes almost impossible to maintain. Defining clear goals means more than simply saying, "I want to be successful," or "I want to be healthier." These vague statements carry no real weight because they do not give you a target to aim at. True goals must be specific, measurable, and tied to a deep sense of purpose. For example, instead of saying, "I want to be healthier," a clear goal would be, "I want to lose 10 pounds in 3 months by exercising 4 times a week and eating balanced meals." This level of clarity transforms your aspiration into a roadmap. Suddenly, you know exactly what steps are necessary, and this clarity fuels discipline. But clarity alone is not enough. You must also connect your goals to your why, the emotional reason behind your pursuit. Discipline is often tested during moments of hardship, when giving up seems easier than pressing forward. In these moments, logic and surface-level desire rarely hold up. What sustains you is the emotional connection to your goal. For instance, someone who wants to lose weight may tie their why to living longer for their children, or to gaining the confidence they need to pursue opportunities at work. This personal reason becomes a powerful motivator, transforming discipline from an external effort into an internal drive. Think about any athlete who pushes through grueling training sessions. On the surface, their goal may be to win a competition, but beneath that is usually a deeper why. Perhaps to prove something to themselves, to honor the sacrifices their family made, or to achieve a lifelong dream. That deeper reason is what gets them out of bed on mornings when their body aches and their mind tells them to rest. The same applies to you. When your goals are tied to a strong emotional foundation, you can endure discomfort, resist distractions, and stay disciplined, because quitting would mean betraying something deeply meaningful. Another essential aspect of defining goals is breaking them into smaller milestones. A big vision can sometimes feel overwhelming, and when people only look at the massive end goal, they may lose motivation before even starting. Discipline thrives on progress, so you must divide your big goal into smaller, achievable steps. Each time you hit a milestone, you reinforce your belief that the larger goal is within reach. This momentum is what keeps discipline alive. For example, if your goal is to write a book, focus first on completing one chapter, then another. Each finished chapter is a victory that fuels the discipline needed to keep going. It is also crucial to write down your goals and revisit them regularly. Studies have shown that people who write down their goals are significantly more likely to achieve them than those who only keep them in their minds. Writing solidifies your commitment, and revisiting them reminds you of your purpose when life's distractions pull you away. You might even post your goals somewhere visible, on your desk, your phone wallpaper, or a journal you open daily. The constant reminder keeps your why in focus and strengthens your discipline. Equally important is aligning your goals with your values. Discipline cannot thrive when you chase something that conflicts with who you truly are. If your goals are shaped only by external pressure, like societal expectations or the desire to impress others, you will quickly run out of energy to stay disciplined. But when your goals align with your core values, discipline feels more natural because your actions match your authentic self. For instance, if you value creativity, setting a goal to pursue a creative career will ignite discipline far more effectively than chasing a path in finance just because it seems prestigious. Alignment eliminates internal resistance, making discipline sustainable in the long run. At the same time, you must be realistic when setting goals. Ambition is admirable, but setting unrealistic expectations often leads to frustration and burnout. Discipline thrives in balance. The goal should stretch you beyond your comfort zone but still remain achievable with consistent effort. If you aim too high too soon, repeated failure will sap your motivation and your discipline will collapse. On the other hand, If you aim too low, you will never challenge yourself enough to grow. Finding this balance is the art of goal setting, and mastering it makes discipline far easier to maintain. Defining your goals and your why is not a one-time exercise. It is an ongoing process. As you grow and your circumstances change, your goals may evolve and your reasons may shift. Discipline requires you to regularly reevaluate and refine them. Think of it as recalibrating your compass. If you never check whether your goals still align with your values and desires, you may waste years pursuing something that no longer matters. Reflecting every few months keeps you on track and ensures your discipline is always serving a purpose that is meaningful today, not just in the past. Ultimately, the secret to discipline lies not in raw willpower, but in having goals that truly matter to you. When your goals are clear, aligned with your values, and backed by a strong why, discipline transforms from a constant struggle into a natural extension of who you are. You no longer need to force yourself to act. Your vision pulls you forward. Every setback becomes manageable because you know what is at stake. Every challenge becomes an opportunity to prove your commitment, and every small victory strengthens your resolve. So if you want to unlock the secret to staying disciplined, start here. Ask yourself, what exactly do I want? Why do I want it? How will I measure progress? And do these goals align with my deepest values? The answers to these questions will form the foundation of unshakable discipline. Without them, you may drift aimlessly, relying on bursts of motivation that quickly fade. With them, however, discipline becomes your default mode, guiding every choice you make and every step you take toward the life you truly desire. Discipline is often thought of as an immense force of will, but in reality, it is not about superhuman strength. It is about structure. The true secret lies in building small, consistent habits that compound over time. Habits are the invisible architecture of discipline, and they hold more power than motivation ever could. Motivation comes and goes, often influenced by mood, energy levels, or circumstances. But habits operate like automatic programs running in the background, freeing you from constant decision-making and reducing the friction between intention and action. Think of your brain as a muscle that conserves energy whenever possible. Each time you face a decision, you expend mental energy. If every action of the day required conscious thought, you would quickly burn out. This is why habits are so essential. They take repeated behaviors and automate them, allowing you to act without thinking. Once brushing your teeth or tying your shoes became habitual, you never needed to summon motivation to do them again. Discipline therefore becomes easier when you transform desired actions into habits. Building habits requires starting small. One of the biggest mistakes people make is trying to overhaul their lives overnight. They decide they want to get fit, so they attempt a 2-hour workout every day. They want to be productive, so they create an elaborate schedule filled with unrealistic commitments. This overwhelming approach often leads to failure within days, reinforcing the belief that they lack discipline. The truth is, discipline grows stronger when you lower the barrier to action. Instead of a 2-hour workout, start with 5 minutes of stretching or 10 push-ups. Instead of forcing yourself to write an entire chapter, commit to writing just one paragraph. By starting small, you make the habit too easy to skip. Over time, the small habit grows naturally into something bigger. Consistency matters more than intensity. A person who exercises for 15 minutes every day will achieve far more than someone who works out intensely for 3 hours once a month. This is because habits compound in the same way that interest accumulates in a bank account. Each small, consistent action adds up, creating momentum that becomes nearly unstoppable. Discipline is not about grand gestures. It is about showing up repeatedly, even when the steps feel small. Another crucial factor in building habits is linking them to existing routines, a strategy known as habit stacking. The idea is simple. Anchor a new habit to something you already do consistently. For example, if you want to start journaling, tie it to your morning coffee routine. After I drink my coffee, I will write 1 sentence in my journal. If you want to floss, connect it to brushing your teeth. After I brush, I will floss 1 tooth. These small connections piggyback off existing habits, making the new behaviors easier to adopt and harder to forget. Over time, the stacked habits create a chain of disciplined actions that build upon one another. Environment also plays a huge role in habit formation. People often underestimate how much their surroundings shape their behavior. If you keep junk food in your pantry, your willpower will constantly be tested. But if you replace it with healthier options, the habit of eating better becomes nearly automatic. Similarly, if your phone is on your desk while you work, the temptation to scroll social media will derail your focus. By placing your phone in another room, you make discipline easier by eliminating friction. This is not weakness, it is smart design. Discipline is not about constantly resisting temptation, but about designing an environment where good habits are the default. Habit tracking is another powerful tool for sustaining discipline. Humans are wired to seek progress, and visual cues can provide that sense of accomplishment. Something as simple as checking off a box on a calendar or marking a streak in an app can reinforce your behavior and make you less likely to break the chain. Over time, the satisfaction of seeing consistent progress becomes its own motivation. Even a small mark on a page carries weight because it proves you are living in alignment with your goals. Of course, building habits requires patience. It is tempting to expect results immediately, but real change takes time. Research suggests it can take anywhere from 21 to 66 days, or longer, for a new behavior to become automatic, depending on the complexity of the habit. During this period, discipline is tested most. The first week may feel exciting, the second may feel harder, and by the third, you may question whether it is worth it. This is when you must remember the power of consistency. Each repetition is like laying another brick in the foundation. One missed day will not destroy your progress, but quitting altogether will. Forgive yourself for mistakes, but never let them spiral into abandonment. Equally important is celebrating small victories. Too often, people dismiss small progress because it does not feel grand enough. But every step matters. Writing one page is still progress toward a book. Running for 5 minutes is still progress toward better fitness. Discipline grows stronger when you acknowledge and celebrate these small wins because they reinforce your identity as someone who follows through. Over time, the identity shift is more important than the outcome itself. When you see yourself as a disciplined person, you naturally act in ways that support that belief. Identity-based habits are perhaps the most powerful of all. Instead of saying, "I want to run a marathon," shift to, "I am a runner." Instead of saying, "I want to eat healthier," say, "I am the type of person who chooses nourishing foods." By reframing your identity, you align your habits with who you believe yourself to be. Discipline then stops being an external effort and becomes part of your internal character. Every time you act in line with that identity, you reinforce it further. In the end, discipline thrives not on dramatic acts of willpower, but on the quiet repetition of small, consistent habits. When you design your environment, start small, stack habits together, track progress, and connect your actions to your identity, you create a system that sustains discipline automatically. You no longer need to rely on bursts of motivation because your habits carry you forward. Like water carving a canyon, the consistent repetition of small actions creates powerful results over time. So if you want to stay disciplined, don't focus on massive one-time efforts. Focus instead on the little things you do every day. They may seem insignificant in the moment, but they are the true secret to lasting discipline. Over weeks, months, and years, these small habits will shape your character, fuel your progress, and ultimately define the person you become. One of the most overlooked secrets to staying disciplined is the environment you live and work in. People often blame themselves for a lack of willpower, when in fact the real culprit is the constant presence of distractions and temptations surrounding them. Discipline is not just about internal strength. It is about external design. When your environment is aligned with your goals, discipline becomes effortless. When your environment is full of friction and temptation, discipline becomes a daily battle that few can win consistently. Think about this. If you are trying to eat healthier but your kitchen is filled with cookies, chips, and soda, you are not only fighting your cravings, you are fighting your surroundings. Each time you open the pantry, you are faced with temptation. Willpower is like a muscle, and every time you resist, you deplete it slightly. Eventually, your mental reserves run out and you give in. Now imagine instead that your pantry is filled with fruits, vegetables, nuts, and water. Suddenly, making a healthy choice is not a matter of willpower. It is the only option available. By managing your environment, you turn discipline from a struggle into the path of least resistance. This principle applies to every area of life. If you want to be productive, your environment must encourage focus. A cluttered desk full of distractions signals chaos to your brain, while a clean workspace signals order and clarity. If your phone constantly buzzes with notifications, your attention will be hijacked before you even realize it. Simply placing your phone in another room or turning off unnecessary notifications can drastically improve your ability to concentrate. Discipline thrives when you remove friction from good habits and increase friction for bad ones. Let's look at an example. Suppose you want to read more books and spend less time watching television. One simple adjustment could be to place a book on your coffee table and keep the TV remote in another room. When you sit down, the book is within reach, while the remote requires effort to retrieve. Humans are naturally drawn to the path of least resistance. By managing your environment this way, you make the disciplined choice easier and the undisciplined choice harder. Over time, these small design choices add up and discipline begins to feel automatic. Another powerful strategy is creating discipline zones. These are specific environments you design for a single purpose. For instance, if you want to focus on deep work, designate a corner of your room or an office as your workspace. In that zone, you do nothing but focused work. Over time, your brain begins to associate that environment with discipline and productivity. Similarly, if you want better sleep, make your bedroom a zone for rest only. Avoid working or scrolling on your phone in bed. By attaching environments to specific behaviors, you train your brain to enter the right state automatically, reducing the effort required to stay disciplined. Social environment also plays a massive role in discipline. Surrounding yourself with people who embody the habits you want to build creates powerful accountability. If you spend time with friends who value fitness, you will naturally feel encouraged to exercise. On the other hand, if your social circle normalizes procrastination or unhealthy behaviors, your discipline will constantly be undermined. As the saying goes, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Choosing the right social environment can mean the difference between constant struggle and effortless discipline. Technology is another environmental factor that can either help or hurt your discipline. For example, productivity apps and reminders can create structure, but endless notifications and social media feeds can shatter your focus. The key is to take control of your digital environment rather than letting it control you. Curate your online experience by unsubscribing from unnecessary distractions, limiting screen time, or using apps that block access to time-wasting websites during work hours. These small adjustments can drastically reduce the need for willpower, making discipline much easier to sustain. Managing your environment also means anticipating obstacles. Instead of waiting for temptation to strike, plan ahead and design solutions before they arise. For example, if you know you will feel tired after work and may skip the gym, pack your gym bag in the morning and place it by the door. If you know late-night snacking is your weakness, prepare healthy snacks in advance and keep them within reach. This proactive approach ensures that when your energy or motivation dips, your environment still nudges you toward the disciplined choice. It is important to note that shaping your environment is not about restricting your freedom. It is about protecting your future self. Every decision you make in designing your environment is a form of self-compassion. You are recognizing that willpower is finite, and that by making disciplined choices easier, you are setting yourself up for success. This mindset shifts discipline from being a constant fight into an act of self-care. Instead of forcing yourself to resist temptation every day, you design a life where temptation rarely appears in the first place. Over time, the cumulative effect of managing your environment is profound. You will find that you no longer need to summon immense willpower to make the right choices because your environment does the heavy lifting for you. Discipline becomes less about struggle and more about flow, less about resistance and more about design. Your surroundings quietly reinforce the person you want to be, making each disciplined action feel natural rather than forced. Ultimately, staying disciplined is not about being stronger than everyone else. It is about being smarter. The strongest people are not those who resist temptation endlessly, but those who design their lives so that they are rarely tempted in the first place. If you want to unlock the secret to discipline, start by looking around you. Ask yourself, does my environment make discipline easier or harder? Am I setting myself up for success or sabotaging myself before I even begin? The answers to these questions will reveal whether you are relying too much on willpower or wisely leveraging the power of your surroundings. By controlling your environment, you gain control over your actions. And by controlling your actions, you gain control over your life. Discipline, then, is not a matter of luck or genetic willpower. It is a matter of choice, repeated daily in the spaces you create for yourself. Discipline is not built overnight. It is forged slowly like steel in fire through the practice of persistence. Every time you choose to push forward when it would be easier to stop, you are strengthening your willpower. Willpower itself is not some fixed trait you are either born with or without. It is a skill, and like any skill, it can be trained and expanded. The more you practice persistence in small things, the more capacity you have to remain disciplined in bigger challenges. One of the most powerful truths about discipline is that it grows in proportion to the obstacles you overcome. Each time you resist the urge to quit, you are sending a message to yourself: I am stronger than my impulses. That message reinforces your identity as someone who is capable of discipline. Conversely, each time you give in too easily, you reinforce the opposite message. Persistence, therefore, is not just about achieving an external goal, it is about shaping your internal belief system. Think of persistence as a muscle. If you never push that muscle, it remains weak. If you push too hard all at once, you may injure it. But if you consistently challenge it just beyond its comfort zone, it grows stronger. This is how discipline works. When you set out to do something difficult, wake up early, study after a long day, or resist unhealthy temptations, you are training your willpower muscle. The first few attempts may feel nearly impossible, but over time the task becomes easier because your willpower has expanded. Persistence requires embracing discomfort. Many people quit because they mistake discomfort for failure. They believe that if something feels hard, it must mean they are not capable of it. But discomfort is not a sign to stop. It is a sign you are growing. Muscles burn during a workout, not because you are weak, but because they are adapting to become stronger. The same principle applies to discipline. When you feel the urge to give up, recognize that moment as the training ground of persistence. By pushing through it, you are not just accomplishing the task. You are developing resilience that will serve you in every area of life. Another key element of persistence is patience. In our fast-paced world, people crave instant results, but discipline thrives on delayed gratification. Success rarely comes overnight, and those who expect quick victories are often the first to abandon their goals. Persistence means accepting that progress may be slow, uneven, and sometimes invisible in the short term. But just because you do not see immediate results does not mean your effort is wasted. Like planting a seed, persistence requires trust that growth is happening beneath the surface, even when you cannot see it yet. This is where routines play a powerful role. A routine removes the need to constantly negotiate with yourself. If you have decided that every morning at 6 a.m. you will exercise, then it is no longer a daily debate, it is simply what you do. Routines remove decision fatigue, allowing persistence to flourish. Over time, your body and mind adjust to the rhythm, and the act of staying disciplined becomes second nature. It is not about dramatic bursts of effort, but about steady, repeated practice. Of course, persistence does not mean blindly forcing yourself through every challenge without reflection. It requires adaptability. Sometimes the path you choose may not be the most effective, and persisting in the wrong direction is not discipline. It is stubbornness. True persistence means holding firm to your ultimate goal while remaining flexible in your approach. If one strategy fails, you do not give up on the goal. You adjust the method. This balance of firmness and flexibility is the mark of true discipline. A powerful way to strengthen persistence is by reframing setbacks. Many people see failure as evidence that they lack discipline, when in fact, failure is part of the process of building it. Every stumble is an opportunity to practice resilience. Instead of thinking, I failed, so I should stop, shift to, this is part of learning, and by continuing, I am strengthening my persistence. This mindset transforms discipline from a fragile trait that collapses under failure into a robust skill that grows stronger because of it. Another important aspect of persistence is self-compassion. Discipline often carries the image of being harsh with yourself, but research shows that people who treat themselves with kindness after mistakes are far more likely to persist in the long run. Beating yourself up for slipping only increases shame and reduces motivation. On the other hand, forgiving yourself and recommitting to the goal reinforces persistence. Self-compassion does not mean excusing laziness. It means recognizing that setbacks are part of growth and that your worth is not diminished by temporary lapses. Persistence also benefits from visualization. When you vividly imagine the person you want to become or the outcome you want to achieve, you strengthen your resolve to push through obstacles. Athletes use this technique constantly. visualizing themselves winning before they ever step onto the field. By rehearsing success in your mind, you prepare yourself emotionally for the challenges ahead. Each time your discipline is tested, you can draw strength from that mental picture, reminding yourself of why persistence is worth it. In addition, persistence is amplified by accountability. When you share your goals with others or commit to someone who expects you to follow through, you are less likely to quit. This external pressure can act as a safety net when your internal motivation weakens. But beyond external accountability, the most powerful form of persistence comes from internal accountability. When you hold yourself to a standard because you refuse to let yourself down. This self-respect is the ultimate driver of discipline. At its core, persistence is about building trust with yourself. Each time you set a goal and follow through, you strengthen that trust. Each time you quit too easily, you weaken it. Discipline is nothing more than a collection of promises you make to yourself, and persistence is the act of keeping them. When you consistently keep those promises, no matter how small, you begin to see yourself as reliable, capable, and disciplined. That identity becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, reinforcing persistence even further. Ultimately, persistence transforms discipline from a fragile effort into an unshakable character trait. By embracing discomfort, practicing patience, reframing setbacks, and keeping promises to yourself, you forge the resilience necessary to stay the course. Life will always present challenges, distractions, and setbacks, but persistence ensures that none of them derail your progress for long. It turns discipline into more than a tool. It turns it into who you are. Staying disciplined is not only about pushing forward relentlessly, it is also about acknowledging your progress and creating systems that keep your motivation alive. Humans are not machines. We need reinforcement, encouragement, and visible signs that our efforts are paying off. This is where the practice of rewarding yourself and tracking your progress becomes essential. These two elements transform discipline from a dry, exhausting grind into a sustainable journey filled with positive reinforcement. Rewards play a psychological role in reinforcing behavior. Our brains are wired to seek pleasure and avoid pain, and when we associate disciplined behavior with positive outcomes, we are far more likely to repeat it. This is why small celebrations after completing a task are so effective. For instance, after finishing a tough workout, allowing yourself a moment to enjoy a relaxing shower or a favorite healthy snack can strengthen the link between effort and reward. The key is to create rewards that are aligned with your goals rather than undermining them. If you reward a week of clean eating with a binge of junk food, you sabotage the very discipline you are trying to build. Instead, rewards should act as encouragement without erasing your progress. Another powerful aspect of rewarding yourself is the sense of pride it generates. Too often, people dismiss their own progress because it feels small compared to the final goal. But discipline is strengthened when you pause to recognize the effort it took to get there. Completing a week of consistent study, sticking to a savings plan, or resisting a bad habit for even a few days is worth celebrating. These acknowledgments act like fuel, reminding you that your hard work matters and keeping your momentum alive. Tracking progress is equally important, and it provides a tangible record of your discipline in action. Our minds often trick us into believing that we are not making progress, especially when results are gradual. But a written log, a calendar with check marks, or a digital app can counter that illusion by showing visible proof of consistency. For example, imagine marking an X on your calendar every day you complete a task. After a few days, the chain of X's becomes something you are motivated to protect. Breaking the chain feels like losing progress, so you push yourself to stay disciplined just to keep the streak alive. This simple tool transforms discipline into a game you are eager to win. Progress tracking also allows you to measure growth objectively. Without tracking, it is easy to feel stagnant and discouraged. But when you can look back and see how many pages you have written, how many miles you have run, or how much money you have saved, you realize that every small effort has been accumulating. This recognition builds confidence and reinforces your identity as someone who follows through. It shifts discipline from being an endless effort into being a source of pride and self-belief. Furthermore, tracking progress creates opportunities for reflection. Discipline is not just about doing the work blindly. It is about learning what works best for you. By reviewing your records, you can identify patterns, times of day when you are most productive, habits that give you energy, or triggers that lead to setbacks. These insights allow you to adjust your approach, making your discipline smarter and more effective. Without tracking, you may repeat the same mistakes without realizing it, but with it, you can adapt and improve continuously. Rewarding yourself and tracking progress also tie directly into the psychology of motivation. Humans are motivated by progress toward meaningful goals, and when progress is visible, motivation increases. This is why video games are so addictive. They provide constant feedback in the form of points, levels, and rewards. You can apply the same principle to your life. Treat your discipline like a game where every action earns you points. Every milestone is a level up, and every reward is a celebration of advancement. This gamification of discipline makes the process enjoyable rather than burdensome. Of course, rewards and progress tracking must be used wisely. If rewards become the only reason you stay disciplined, you risk losing motivation when the reward disappears. The goal is to let rewards enhance the process, not replace the deeper purpose behind it. Similarly, if tracking becomes obsessive, you may focus more on numbers than on meaningful growth. The healthiest approach is balance. Use rewards to celebrate, use tracking to measure, but always stay grounded in the bigger why that fuels your discipline. Another overlooked benefit of rewarding yourself and tracking progress is the way they combat discouragement. There will inevitably be times when you feel like giving up, when results come slower than expected, or when life throws unexpected challenges at you. In these moments, a record of your progress reminds you how far you have already come. Even if you are not yet at your goal, seeing months of consistent effort proves that quitting now would waste everything you have already invested. Rewards, even small ones, provide bursts of joy along the way, helping you push through difficult stretches. This practice also reinforces the idea that discipline is not punishment. Many people resist discipline because they associate it with deprivation and strictness. But when discipline includes rewards and recognition, it feels less like suffering and more like empowerment. It becomes clear that discipline is a tool for creating a better life, not a set of chains holding you back. By rewarding yourself and celebrating milestones, you begin to view discipline as something positive, a gift you give yourself every day. Ultimately, rewarding yourself and tracking progress close the loop in the discipline cycle. Defining goals gives you direction, building habits gives you consistency, managing your environment makes discipline easier, persistence keeps you moving forward during hard times, and finally, rewards and tracking provide the reinforcement to sustain it all. Each element feeds into the others, creating a system where discipline is not a constant battle, but a lifestyle. So if you want to unlock the secret to staying disciplined, do not just focus on pushing harder. Take time to celebrate your victories, no matter how small, and keep a record of your journey. These practices turn discipline into a story of growth that you can see and feel. And when you can see your progress clearly, staying disciplined is no longer about willpower. It becomes about pride, momentum, and the joy of becoming the person you set out to be. Discipline isn't just a tool, it's the bridge that takes you to success. If you found these secrets valuable, don't forget to share this video to spread the power of discipline to more people. And leave your thoughts below, because your story might be the inspiration someone else needs on their journey of self-mastery.